President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa has addressed the 4th South African Investment Conference in Sandton earlier today, where he was selling South Africa to potential investors. Over 7 billion rand in pledges have already been received, and the target of 1.2 trillion is closer to being achieved. That's a lot of money. eNCA reporter Heidi Giokos covering this story for us. Good afternoon, Heidi, speaking to us about the importance, of course, of this investment conference. And I understand it will address issues like power supply and how South Africa needs to be conducive or have a conducive environment for big investments.
Yes, certainly, Bradan, and I hear you mention the fact that the goal is to have pledges to the value of over R1 trillion, and from my calculation with the statement that's been released to how many pledges so far, it seems as though they're quite far from that R1 trillion. We do know it's about over 200 billion rand that has been pledged so far from various companies. Significant and important pledges that are being made here at the 2022 Investment Conference. Of course, a significant one for the country as CEOs, business leaders, and of course the president, together with government, not being able to meet for the last 2 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But what's crucial here is whether or not the country is a conducive one to invest in, given the multiple challenges that we face. And I think the biggest one on top of everyone's minds at the moment is our power supply and how unstable that is. Yes, government has announced plans to try and sort that out and bring in renewable energy and the likes to try and deal with this power supply issue. But the president's saying that he has addressed this. There is a plan to deal with this. We've spoken to a number of other business leaders, and most of them have indicated that they need to make sure that the country's able not only to deal with constant rolling blackouts, but also to make sure that there is a plan that's going to be implemented to make sure that they deal with this massive crisis. Anybody that wants to invest in here, anybody that wants to help economic growth and job creation is going to look at whether or not the country can keep its lights on and whether or not this is going to be a conducive environment. Our business editor, Devin Morgan, doorstopped the president and asked him about the issue around Eskom. Let's listen to what he had to say.
They are very happy. That's why they are making all these commitments. So there must be something that we're doing right, and I know we're doing a few things right. The reforms are going on, and that's why the investors are here in their large numbers from well over 40 countries. So that is a very positive indicator for us, and we should be pleased.
Have they asked you about Eskom?
Well, I addressed the issue of Eskom, and of course they hear our narrative and our explanation, and there's no other way to deal with Eskom than what I have said. Thank you.
And Heidi, of course, time and again, we hear about the importance of that private-public partnership, the private sector working with government, and it's said to be vital, especially in the creation of much-needed jobs and economic growth.
Yes, certainly, and I think what's crucial here, now listening back to what the president actually told Devin, not much was said there, but basically they are trying to show investors that they are trying to make a plan to deal with the multiple challenges that this country faces. But he makes the mention of the fact that over 40 countries are here at this investment conference. You have hundreds of businesses here and CEOs trying to pledge and find a way to contribute to economic growth and job creation here. We did get a chance to speak to the Mineral Resources Council, Roger Baxter, around their plan moving forward and their engagements. And the general consensus here, Bradan, is the fact that business and private business and government need to work hand in hand to try and create those jobs, to try and get our economy growing again. And the mining sector, in fact, Bradan, has contributed immensely. Even during the hard lockdown and COVID-19, it was one of the positive contributing factors to our GDP. And that needs to keep going. That momentum needs to keep going. However, what has been raised is the fact that there's so much red tape and so many issues is when businesses want to invest in South Africa, when businesses want to contribute and pledge billions of rands. It becomes very difficult when there is so much red tape and the environment, once again, is not conducive for that. We got a chance to speak to the Mineral Resources Council around the issue of red tape and wanting to invest further in South Africa. Let's listen to what he had to say.
There are structural weaknesses. On the electricity supply side, we absolutely need to get a lot more private sector investment in electricity. In the mining sector, we've got 3.9 gigawatts of power projects worth about 60 billion rand that we are prepared to invest in, provided we get the red tape out the way. So we are working very closely with the presidency, the DMRE, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment on reducing environmental authorization times, etc. Because again, the opportunities are there and we can fill the gaps and get South Africa back on track from a growth perspective.
Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos, at that investment conference that continues in Sandton. We'll have to see what more is going to be coming out of it this afternoon.